Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by ICast for all your fine quality kayak fishing accessories. Go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. And the 153 Bait Company for all your hard and soft bait needs. Go to the 153angler.com. So join with me as together we dive into the tips and techniques that will help make us better anglers out on the water. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another great episode of Bass Fishing for Noobs here on the Paddle and Fin Network. I am your host, Sean Lavery, and I just wanted to get everything started tonight with a little bit of a story. I was looking for a guest and had read an article by a gentleman named Kyle Peterson, and I went on to Facebook to kind of search for the gentleman, to kind of reach out to him and ask him to be on the show to talk about some of the things he talked about in the article. Oddly enough, I ended up with an entirely different Kyle Peterson, but as we got to talking, it turned out that he had an interesting story too. So tonight's show will be a little bit different than our normal kind of techniques and that kind of show, but I think it'll be interesting just the same. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring on tonight's special guest, the Kyle Peterson that I really wanted to talk to. So Kyle, welcome to Bass Fishing for Noobs.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So as those of you watching on YouTube can probably see, Kyle is a soft bait designer for Berkley, and I thought it would be really neat to get his perspective on that, kind of how he got into that and everything, just because I feel like it would be an interesting change of pace for our show, but I have a lot of curiosity about it. I'd love to learn more about it, so I figured that it would be fun to have you on. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a dream job, man. I can't believe it myself sometimes when I wake up and get to do fishing all day. So it's been quite the experience, and very humble and pleased, and just been amazing.
Awesome. Well, obviously, first time on the Best Fishing for Noobs segment. So we'll get started by just having you tell the folks who you are, where you're from, that kind of deal.
Yeah. So my name's Kyle Peterson, like you said. I live in Spirit Lake, Iowa. That's where Berkley is founded and from. Originally from this little town called Joyce, Iowa. It's got like 250 people in it. I'm not even a gas station. So I grew up with playing out in the street lights until they came home, and then you had to get home. So started off there, fishing with my dad a lot. And it's kind of funny because he used to love trout fishing, and the Berkley power bait doe was his favorite. So we always go out over eastern Iowa and trout fished. Kind of grew up doing that. And then in high school, I started to do a lot more northern fishing and bass fishing in the rivers. Really started to enjoy that. I was the kind of kid that skipped school and, be caught out fishing all the time. So probably shouldn't have done that as much now looking back, but here I am. So it's not so bad, right?
The ends justify the means, I think, right?
Yeah. Yep. So I went to Northern Iowa Community College, just in Nyack, and I actually got a degree or diploma in building trades. Loved doing construction. I built houses, did commercial stuff, and found myself down in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And this is kind of where my fishing really took off. I was introduced to a guy named Buck Perry. I don't know if you guys know who he is at all.
I haven't heard that name, but I'll definitely have to check him out.
You're going to have to look that up. So Buck Perry is like the founder of fishing. He is like the original guy that started it all. And he's got these books called The Successful Guide to Fishing or something like that. I don't remember the top of my head. So I started reading those, and it really changed the way around of thinking, like how I thought about when I went out on the water and everything else. Like it kind of breaks it down. It's not an absolute, but it really helped me. So I would build houses and stuff, 40-hour work week. And man, I was on the water 32 hours on a weekend. Wow. I was just 16-hour days. I was just obsessed. And I muskie fished a lot. They're such a unique creature, and going after them that you kind of get addicted to it. And I'm not going to lie. So I had some And like I said, I'd just fish nonstop. And then after reading those books, I started thinking about lures and what they're more tools than anything. Like a lure is a tool to get the job done, whatever the fish wants, right? So I really started to think about like lures as tools, and my tackle box became my toolbox of how to get the job done when I broke down the water. So that's kind of how I got started into building lures. So this is before anything like that. And a musky lure, I really wanted a bait that would hang in the water with this big tail, right? That moved a lot of water, and I could work at slower speeds. And there wasn't really anything like that in the musky world. So I honestly went to the wooden lathe, made a body, and super sculpty, baked it in an oven, started messing around with molds, and kind of failed miserably several times. Like, it was not easy. And it was kind of, you set it on the shelf and winter would come around and I'd pull it back out and I'd work on it again and I'd fail again. And it's kind of unique. So at that time down there in Cedar Rapids, my dad had become pretty ill with cancer. I lost him. And then, it all played out. It's just so weird how your life changes, and it's, it starts out as bad, but somehow it's all amazing. But anyways, I lost my dad to cancer in 2015. I met this girl who's now my wife. And then we came up to Clear Lake, Iowa to take care of my mom because she got ill as well about a year and a half later. So I moved from Cedar Rapids. I moved back up to Clear Lake, and that's where there's a hometown. Clear Lake's got muskies in it. And that's where I kind of started to think about my lure again. I pulled it back out of the shelf, started working on it some more. And I think I got a working prototype that actually worked. And we went out fishing one night after work, and my wife, girlfriend at the time, she had just caught her first muskie. She was pumped, right? We were fishing down the thing like 10 minutes in. It was a squeak. I mean, it would swim and get his head stuck in our net and like pin its gill plate shut. And I was getting pretty frustrated. I'd get it out and it'd do it again. And I ended up just dumping the net. I'm like, you'll catch another one. Well, I was throwing my prototype, and not even 10 casts later, I caught like a 42 incher on it. And wow. I was pretty pumped, and she still gives me a hard time about that. So I'm like, wow, like I might have something here, right? Like, you catch a muskie in 20 minutes out fishing, that's not bad. So I had this mold, and these were garage baits. They were nowhere near pretty or anything. I ended up going and making some more, and I gave them to some friends that go up north, and they caught, I think, 7 muskies in a weekend, and nothing was smaller than 44 inches or something like that. It was just unreal.
Wow.
I'm like, holy cow, like this is cool, right?
So much for the fish of 10,000 casts if you can do it.
Yeah,
in 10.
right. It was unreal, and all my buddies loved it because no one else could have that lure, and they were just hammering fish. So I started thinking about taking it to the next step, and I went and talked to a machine shop about making a mold, a production grade mold, and they came back and said, here, Kyle, it'll be such and such dollars. And I'm like, oh, that's not bad. I can probably swing that. I'll do some extra work and pay for that, just to do it. And, 2 weeks come by, and they came back with me, and it was 5 times the cost that they originally said. And I'm just like, oh my God, I told this guy to make me this mold, and how am I going to pay for this? And like at that point, and it's funny, like I was sweating that bill so much, like how am I going to pay for all this money? I decided, well, I'll make them and I'll sell them. That's what I'm going to do. So I started my old company called Peterson Lures. It was called the Whale Tail. They're still made today. I had to sell the company afterwards, but I made a website, got a logo. I was everyone. I was the graphic designer. I was a shipper. My garage just transformed. It's kind of funny, the day that I opened the website and I just posted on Facebook, like, hey guys, going to start selling these lures, and my little website would give me a notification. So I open it, and 10 minutes go by, 15, nothing's happening. An hour goes by. I'm like, shit, like pretty soon, like 4 hours go by and I go, bing, you sold your first order. I'm like, nice, sweet, right? That's pretty rewarding. And then it didn't stop. It kept going up, bing, 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 bing,
Wow.
bing. And I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? So it absolutely sucked, dude. I'm not going to lie. I was in my garage after work from 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock every night. My weekends were gone. I was just sitting there making baits the whole time. So at this point, I think my wife and I were just getting married. So we just got married. We were, and this guy named Dan Spangler, who is the hard bait designer over there at Berkley, had posted about this job about, here's your chance to work at Berkley or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, this would be like a dream come true, right? At this point, I'm probably I've been with construction for 10 years, 12 years, and I was getting a little tired of it. You know, like my body's getting shot and everything. So I jump off the whim. I do a resume and a cover letter and I send it in. And I think we're on the anniversary, and I got an email back saying that, sorry, but Pure Fishing has filled this job. And I'm like, bummed, right? But I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to kick ass at it. So I come back and I ramp it up. And we went into we did pretty good at it for a couple months. And then I was getting burnt out, you know, there's no free time. I think I didn't even fish that fall or anything. And I think it was a hot summer day and I was insulating my attic for winter for the garage. You know, I'm all sweaty and dust is sticking to me and I'm just irritated. But starting the company, I answered every single phone call. I cared about customer service. Anyone had a complaint, I took care of it. And here's this unknown number. And I'm up in the attic, like pissed off, right? And I pick up the phone. Hi, this is Kyle Peterson, Peterson Lures. How can I help you? And they're like, hey, this is such and such for Pure Fishing. We'd like to bring you in for an interview. I'm just like, what? Like, yeah, absolutely. Whatever. So long story short, we got offered the job, moved to Spirit Lake, sold my house, bought a new house, sold the company, and we were expecting a baby. So that was quite the change there for us. Yeah, it was unreal. So I've been with Pure Fishing now for a year and a half. Some of the baits that I've been working on are just hitting the stores now, and it's pretty exciting to see that. It's definitely a lot more, you know, designing a lure that's going to Japan and Europe and Australia. That's something that I'm super proud about. Like I get to reach some people, and yeah, it's been fast, and I've learned a lot. And Pure Fishing has been nothing but amazing to me. They're like a family, you know, and just some great people over there.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so here I am today doing a podcast.
Right. Dude, you never know the strange twists and turns, you know, the way life takes you. Like you said, I mean, certain things can feel like it's the end of something, or, you know, I had a very similar experience with my stepfather passing away from cancer roughly around the same time. And it really kind of, you know, made me pause and kind of think about where I was in life, and, you know, if I was doing everything that I really wanted to do. And, you know, it definitely changed my way of thinking and how I approached life in general. And, you know, because I realized, hey, my time is limited, you know, and I took a look at, you know, certain aspects of my life, and I said, you know, am I where I want to be? Am I doing something that's meaningful to me? You know, anybody can go punch a clock and, you know, just put away the hours, but, you know, if you're not putting life into the life you're living, then, you know, what's really worth it? So it
is absolutely crazy to think that, you know, it all triggered from my dad passing away first, caused me to have to move back home, quit my job to take care of my mom, which then turned into that Peterson Lures, which turned into here I am at Berkley with a healthy family and some great people around me.
Yeah, it's amazing. Did you know that Berkley was in that area, or were you?
I didn't. I had no idea that Berkley was founded here, right in Spirit Lake, in, you know, early 1900s. Or Berkley Bedell started off making fishing flies for panfish out of hooks and dog hair, his dog's hair. That's how it all started.
Okay.
It's just crazy to think that.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, now it's a world known company. Yeah.
Right. It's unreal.
Yeah. You imagine, if he could, look, if he knew then how it would grow, I'm sure, he probably wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah. Berkeley Bedell passed away, I would say 6 months before I got my job here.
Wow.
So
So he really was
he
still
lived,
around.
uh, he lived a good life, a long, good life. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. All right. So you mentioned like you fished a lot with your dad and stuff. Was that mostly boat fishing, or were you guys bank fishermen, or little of both?
Yeah, we did.
Obviously.
He always whooped my ass fishing too. I'll never forget that. We did a lot of bank fishing. We'd go over to the streams and we'd always throw power bait out on a bobber or whatnot. And crappie tubes, he loved little tubes that you dart around for the trout. And then trout are fun and everything, but they're a little chub, right? I wanted the big fish. That's what I've always been after, is the big fish. So he started pike fishing more with me in the rivers, and he'd still just whoop my ass. I mean, it wasn't even close. Like, he'd just destroy me. It kind of pushed me to become better and better, right? So we always did that. Never out of a boat. We didn't own a boat growing up. It was all just stream and fishing from shore.
Okay.
And then I think I bought my first boat when I was 23 years old, and I haven't looked back. I don't know. I still go stream fishing and waders or whatnot, but put me in a boat with some electronics, it's pretty fun to figure them out that way.
Nice. And I imagine when you're targeting muskie, boat's almost a necessity at that point, right?
Yeah, you can do it from shore, and I've had some amazing experiences fishing out of waders or off a dock, just because. But it all stemmed from learning the lake and knowing it from a boat. But
Gotcha.
you can do it, and I would recommend trying it if you're ever trying to get one. But a boat definitely helps for that.
Okay. Okay. Um, and so we kind of talked about how you ended up at Berkeley when you got started there. Was it what you expected, or they kind of just throw you into the fire and be like, hey, how'd you end up in soft plastics
Right.
or
So
soft baits?
so soft baits, that's what my lure was, and I interviewed quite extensively for the job. And you know, you can't go to school to become a soft bait designer, right? You gotta. And the reason I got the role is I had passion. Like, fishing is what I do. I think about fishing. That's all I do. I go to work and then I go home and I fish when I can. So you got to have the passion for it. And I had expertise in like other areas like machining and stuff that I understood. And, kind of doing it with my company helped me get this job. So the first week that I was there was my boss actually was out on a sales meeting. I came in, and Dan Spangler, the hard bait guy, he's a couple years older than me, quite a few more gray hairs than me. Just remember that. He kind of took me around, showed me the ropes. He's kind of put me under his arm a little bit because he's been there forever. He's been there 10 years now, 11 years. I'm not sure. But he kind of showed me what my role is going to be. And then it was kind of start doing your thing, Kyle, start designing, and here's some projects and stuff like that. And I kind of learned as I went, but I wasn't alone the whole process. Everyone there is helping me.
I was going to say, I imagine there's kind of a team, right, that you work
Oh
with,
yeah.
or okay.
Yeah, I'm in the research and development part. So there's a whole team around, I could sit there and name off everyone from, so I'll just give you a little rundown. Keith is my boss. Keith oversees the hard bait and soft bait design. So he's Dan Spangler's boss, who's my equivalent to hard bait. And Dan has a CAD designer named Kelly. Kelly's the most amazing lady you'll ever meet. And then I have a CAD designer named Mike Watts. And Mike Watts, everything you probably see on the shelf is done by him. He's been there for, I think, he might be there for 40 years now.
Wow.
So Mike's been there a long time. And then, Lori helps with sourcing stuff, communications. And then there's the whole, obviously, power bait, the scent. There's a whole applied chemistry lab with 1, 2, 4 people in there, just
Wow.
being chemists working on that stuff.
Okay. And I figured we could maybe touch a little bit on what the process looks like. So when you get started with the bait, are you more like thinking about kind of a technique or a specific shape, and then you build it from there, or are you really just looking at a niche that you have to fill, or hey, this is
Yeah.
a
So
kind of a hole in the market that we think we could put something into?
there's a few different ways that a bait like that will come up. So I have my own projects that I have to do. We call those the bullpen projects. So that's something that I pull out, and I think we need this, and I work on it myself to get it to where we think it is. And then it's just kind of sitting along the side. And obviously, Berkley, the brand, is aware of all this and everything else. But that's one way, my favorite way, because it's my, my idea, right? So
Right.
the second idea, we'll go with brand. So brand will say, they do the strategic planning or whatever, and they say, like you're saying, we need to fill this void. So there's that way. I'll kind of like order in all of the competitive samples in the shape, let's say a grub, and then I will sit there and really look at this grub and how it moves and everything else. It's really cool if you ever get the chance to tour Berkley. We have a 5-foot wide, 65-foot, 14 or 13-foot casting pool. And you can go underground and you can see the tank the whole time. So we can watch lures free fall in the water, and we can just compare them and do anything like that. So that's one way that I start. And then the way that makes a lot of people jealous, it's kind of cool, but we have pro input. So Edwin Evers, Mike Iaconelli, Skeet Reese, Jordan Lee, Justin Lucas, Edwin Evers, all those guys have project ideas that they want to work on. And I get to be a part of that. So, we talk on the phone, they come in, and we build baits that way until we get their approval on it. And it's not done until we get their approval on it.
And I'm sure there's a lot of back and forth with that, where they send you an idea, you put it into practice, let them try it, then they come back with tweaks and say, okay.
Yep,
and then...
several revisions that take me many, many months to get right.
So from like start to finish, what's the average time for like a bait development, would you say?
It all depends per project. I know you said on average, but some of the simpler ones will take a year, over a year. And some of the complex ones, I'm working out till 2023, 24 on them.
Wow.
Just to get them absolutely right. So there's I can go a little bit more in depth on some of that stuff. Like, we don't only, we bring competitive samples, we analyze a grub. We get a working prototype that we're super happy with, and we don't give up there. So our number one rule at Berkley there is we try to let the fish decide. Like, we'll take and we'll field evaluate that bait throughout a season, not just us, but the pros, and we'll fish those head to head and everything else like that until we're happy with the bait. So we might be happy with it, but if it comes back and it's not really catching them, we switch it up. And sometimes they don't make launch or whatnot, but we're really trying to produce the best baits out there that catch the most fish.
Interesting. So, for me, that seems like such a jump from like where, like, I wouldn't say I'm a professional angler at this point. I fish a ton, but I'm still relatively new. I've only been, really fishing for maybe 4 years now, maybe, give or take a few. So I would be more worried that I'm not doing something right, and that's why I'm not catching fish, versus the bait is doing something that it shouldn't be. And I guess that's why you have seasoned veterans like Iaconelli and stuff testing them out, because they'll know whether it's the bait that's not working or something else is causing that to happen.
Yeah, they can usually pick up a rod and be pretty accurate with knowing how things feel and stuff like that. I mean, how long has Edwin been fishing professionally?
Yeah.
Forever.
Right.
Yeah. So he's made a few casts in his life.
Do you get to test yours specifically outside? Like, how often do you get to go outside the tank or whatever, actually go on local water? And
everyone says, "Oh, tough day fishing," right? They get it at you. But I do more durability testing, like if I'm working on something, I don't make sure my bait doesn't tear off the jig easy or something like that. But I can usually, it doesn't take me long to get that test done, a couple of fish, and you start knowing what's going on with your bait, and then you make your changes and you go back out and try it again. So depending on the project year and such stuff like that, I get out, I don't know, quite a bit, but it's not like I'm fishing every single day. It's nothing like that,
Does
if
it
I get
change?
out,
Go ahead.
no, sorry. I was just trying to put a number on there for you of like how many times I get out. It's kind of hard to tell, but 2-3 times a month, maybe
Okay.
4. But I do a lot of fishing on my own time, or not my own time, but
Right.
I do a lot of fishing outside of work and everything else that helps out. And I do use a lot of other people's input.
Okay.
To help out with that as well.
Right.
Sometimes sometimes fishing a top water in the spring when ice is just going out isn't going to get you bit. So you got to rely on other people for that type thing.
Right. Does it change the way you fish at all when you are fishing for fun or more on your own time? Do you
Yeah,
find yourself...
It definitely does. Let's say you're out fishing and, let's see a good example of this. You're out throwing a creature bait, right? And you're pitching it under docks, and it's hot and it's sunny and you're not getting bit, but you know that the guy next to you is just crushing them on top water type thing. You got to keep doing what you're there to do versus having the fun fishing. So it's hand in hand. I'm out fishing, it's awesome, but it's not always catching, right?
Right. And I'm sure there's a lot more things you have to pay attention to, like how it's moving through the water.
Oh yeah, I document all of that, keep all the notes, and I'm not just fishing. It's work. I'm writing down like misses and how many fish I'm catching on the bait and stuff that's going wrong, so things like that.
Gotcha. And so a lot of those prototypes, they're produced there on site, or they, do you have to? Is it kind of like where you send your idea out and then you get a shipment in of that?
Yeah, we try to do all things in house.
Okay.
We try to make all the prototypes in house.
Neat. That sounds great to have that right in your backyard.
It's unbelievable when you open those doors at Berkley, what's inside there.
I'm definitely going to have to make a trip out there and visit it. I've seen pictures of the tank or video of the tank online. So I was familiar with that. I read a book by, what was that guy's name? It's called Knowing Bass. And he talks about going to Berkley and testing.
Oh, Keith Jones?
Yes.
Dr. Keith Jones. Yeah. He's the science that I might be speaking out of turn there, but I'm pretty sure he's the founder of the fish lab and always study the fish and everything else like that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a cool book too. I've learned a lot from that book, but I'm definitely going to have to check out the Buck Perry stuff too. So
that will blow your mind. I'm telling you.
Awesome. I can't wait. So, interesting. So that sounds like an amazing thing. And have you, what's it like when, like, how much product review do you get back? Like, you have a product and it makes it to the shelf. How much of that gets back to you? Oh man, I just crushed it, or I got my personal best on this. That's got to feel cool for a bait.
That's kind of one of the biggest perks about me taking this job, was be able to reach that. And the stuff that I worked on in my first year here is just starting to hit the stores. I got, I worked on the Crash Craw with Scott Suggs, the Gilly with Mike Iaconelli.
The Gilly is one of the things I'm super excited to try. When I saw that, I think at ICast this year, I was like, oh, that's going to be killer for me. So
yeah, we did the Agent E with Edwin, Speed Boss Grubs and Worms with Skeet Reese. I mean, we had a huge product, a huge release. Did a little 2-inch power swimmer, which that thing just crushes crappie and panfish. I can't believe that little bait. I mean, it just hammers them over live bait when I was fishing it. What else do we do? There's so many projects at times.
That's cool. What's been your favorite so far that you've worked on?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. I mean, the Gilly won ICast, which is, I mean, that's super cool to come in the first year and win ICast. Is just, it blew my mind that it actually won or anything like that. The Scott Suggs bait was like something that we did from the very beginning off just sketching an idea on note paper. The Agent E was the hardest thing I've ever worked on.
Okay.
You know, we did a hard nose on that to prevent the bait from ripping out. A fluorocarbon weed guard, which was an original idea, which I thought was original idea. Turns out Gary Klein did it back in the 80s when I showed him. So it's pretty hard to get original idea in soft baits. Yeah, we did a rattle in that bait, HD colors on it. So that one was super complex. You know, that was kind of one of my first ones I worked on, and I had a lot of learning to do on that one.
Okay.
But it turned out good. I'm not gonna lie, I really love the little 2-inch power swimmer.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. That sounds interesting.
Out of all the baits that I've done, I mean that thing is like this big, and I think I've caught upwards of 26-inch walleyes on it. Crappies just don't leave it alone. Tons of trout on it. You know, we fished it for trout. Tons of little smaller bass. I mean, it just catches them. It's just a fun little bait.
That sounds cool. I'm gonna write that down so I can check that out. Awesome. And on those, like, how much of it are you like? Do you have to take into consideration like what line most people will be using, or what rod, or do you more like design to your own specs and let people figure that part out?
It's a little bit of both. You know, obviously, a 4-aught EWG is the most common selling hook out there. So, and there's, you know, when we talk about, you know, brands saying like they want this to fill this void or whatever in the market or whatever you want to say about that, it kind of puts it in the place of that ballpark of what we already know we're going to do.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Right. It kind of gives you, you know, at least gets you in the vicinity of knowing, you know.
Yeah, we're going to make a creature bait. Well, we kind of already know there's 100 different creature baits out there, right? So we kind of, it's already setting you up to build something off of that.
Right. The Gilly, that seems like there's not a lot that is kind of like that. Where did that idea come from? Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, so the Gilly is heavily influenced by Japanese design. All you bass guys love Japanese, you know, their techniques and everything else. That's just kind of what we flock to. You know, they're super, super picky with their stuff. You know, that Tokyo rig, all the stuff is coming. The Nico rig, all that stuff is coming from Japan. And,
right.
You know, we kind of started to look in that direction. And Ike and Ellie did a trip over there, and he wanted to work on a bait with a similar idea. But, you know, when we got the idea to work on it, it's like, well, how can we make this better? Like, what can we do to make the Gilly the Gilly? So obviously you guys have seen it, and that texture in the back there that gives it the action. We put activation tabs on there. So those tabs actually catch water and force it to swim. And when we put those on there and made the mold and swam that thing, I couldn't believe my eyes looking at that. Like, if you guys have seen it, you rig it through the side of the bait and the bait swims completely upright. Right. I mean, it stays, because we put an air pocket up top of the head, and there's all these fins that help guide it and everything. Everything else that I worked on with Mike to get on there right. And it turned out better than I honestly thought like it could. Like, it just blows my mind. And oh my God, the bass just don't leave it alone.
When I saw the video from ICast, I remember thinking that looks so natural, and for something that's going to be mass produced, you know, that's not something you find like that, you know. It seems like it's going to be like a one of a kind kind of thing until, you know, obviously how do you guys deal with, you know, trying to keep it, you know, your own and kind of protect it so that it doesn't get, you know, knocked off every minute?
There's a few soft bait patents out there. It's so tough because if you look way back, like, I don't know if you've ever looked at an antique fishing lure book or anything like that. Like, all lures stem off of that stuff. It's so hard to protect that kind of stuff. we have some patents on hard bait stuff like that, that protect the design, but I don't really know how much I can go into that or, what we're doing on that.
That's fine.
It's kind of hard to talk about that,
I imagine it's tough. I can't even imagine, you think you come up with something amazing and then you turn around and there's a million
there's a lot of
knockoffs.
Like, oh my gosh, like I'll run down there and you won't believe how many times I got this awesome idea of this worm that's going to move by itself. Right. And I go down there and I show my boss and they go back and they pull out an old prototype from 8 years ago, 10 years ago of the same thing that I was thinking about. I was just like, Berkley's been doing this a long time. They got a lot of stuff put on the shelf. So yeah, there's a lot of, it's really hard to get an original idea in soft baits. Kind of got a bet going on with my boss right now. I think I can do it. And we got some cool stuff coming out in the future. I'm pretty excited for.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you guys generally shoot like to be ready for ICast? Is ICast a thing, or is it just generally when you can do it and get out there? I know ICast is big for,
ICast doesn't dictate what we do, but obviously ICast is a huge event and we definitely want to be a part of it.
I think you were a big part of it this year from everything that I heard.
I personally didn't get to go down there this year, but that's all I heard about how the booth was just busy and everyone was talking about that stuff. And I think I was working when I found out that it won best of show for the whole thing. And I was just like, I really couldn't believe it, going in there right away. And then Dan won saltwater Chapo, he won a hard bait too. So for the category, which was, we had a pretty good day in the office. I think we got free lunch. That's never bad. Casey's taco pizza for the win.
That's probably the least I could do, right?
Right.
That's got to be an amazing feeling though, just to have something, that huge and to know that you played a big role in that. That's, got to be a special kind of feeling, I'm sure. So
yeah, and it's not only, I'm the project manager for soft bait, but it's the whole team of everyone there. So it's a win for Dan on hard baits. When I'm sitting there sketching out on that drafting paper of a bluegill, Dan Spangler has got a master's degree in fish biology, and I'm not even gonna lie, he was telling me my gill plate was all wrong and the specific part of the gill plate, naming it off, and I had to change it. So it's a whole win for everyone, and it felt great to bring that home.
It's got to be neat to have that kind of expertise on your team. Like I was, looking around at possibly, like I'm an IT guy for my trade, and I was like, well, what kind of classes or what kind of degree would I have to get to kind of branch that way? And I guess it really just depends on, kind of. It definitely helps. I've thought about the fish biology kind of path and stuff like that. But I've also thought about CAD and that kind of stuff, because CAD I think is a little more up my alley. Might be a little more easily attainable, but I also don't know, what's around me that, I think I would have to travel, or at least change parts of the South Central PA isn't exactly a hub of fishing.
Right. Yeah. Dan, man, that guy can fish too. He just straight catches them with his background. So it's an unfair advantage when we go on the boat. And I take that to the bank. No, we've been very fortunate. We fish, I get to fish with all the top of the guys, and I learned so much from everyone. It's been truly amazing, really. I can't, there's no words that can describe it.
All right. I'm officially jealous.
Right.
All right, man. That's cool. Again, it sounds absolutely amazing. I was trying to think of any other questions I have. Any other parts of your job that you enjoy? Is there any parts that are, what's a struggle? Is there any?
The struggle for me, and I'll be completely honest, is being a construction worker going into the office.
Okay.
It takes a lot of work to admit, it's hard for us guys to say we're wrong and have to try to grow from that. And that's been a struggle, emailing and communications and, things like that. But I'm slowly working on it, and hope I'm doing a better job. I don't know. yeah, I still can't believe that I'm here. I'm super blessed. I don't work. I tell people I don't work. It's really not work.
I was going to say, they say if you do
It's a
what you
different
love,
type
it's
of
not
work.
work.
And I think I'm getting a few more gray hairs from the stress of all the projects on my shoulders, but
Deadlines and
it's,
stuff, I'm sure, is a little
yeah,
stressful.
I wouldn't change any of it though. I really wouldn't.
Awesome. I started out, as a general laborer for a construction company, working my way through college, and worked at a steel factory when I had to go to summer school as punishment. My mom worked there, and she's like, well, if you have to go to summer school, since you didn't really apply yourself that year, then guess what? You're going to go work in the steel factory after you get out of summer school. So I definitely, came to understand what hard labor was, and,
Yeah.
the value of, why I was getting the education I was getting. I definitely know what that side is like. I didn't do it for 10 years, and I know enough people in that industry and have seen, kind of, it is really hard on your body to do that day in and day out.
Well, it gave me I wouldn't change any of it because it gave me a great understanding of, of how to do all of that. I do it all myself here at home and help other people out when I can. I wouldn't change anything from my past to how it got me here today. I'm truly blessed. It's just, I can't describe it, man. It's just crazy.
It sounds like an amazing ride, man. And congrats.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's been a ride. That's for sure.
Cool. Well, I mean, I think that's a great story, and I thank you for sharing it with our listeners. I can't wait to see what else you guys are coming out with. I can't wait to try the Gilly. I'm super psyched. I keep checking my local Dick's and Bass Pro to see if they got them in yet, and so far they're not there yet. But as soon as I can get my hands,
give me your address. I think I know a guy that can get you a few.
I might have to do that.
I got a quick tip for everyone out there on that one.
Awesome.
I like to use screw in swim bait hook. And if you look on the side of the Gilly, there are 2 rigging lines for the bait. That's the angle of the hook that you go through. If you put that hook right between the 2 rigging lines, when you pause that bait on the reel, it will fall because of the weight of the hook. It falls just like a dying bluegill all the way down, and it absolutely triggers them.
And is it like most of the Berkley baits where it actually tells you the hook to use on the side of the package?
Yep. So inside the packaging, there are several different rigging options on there. You have to open it up to see it as a flip out card.
Okay.
Carolina rig, the 90 on a drop shot. I mean, bed fishing, that just hammers them. It's just like this little baby bluegill out there. That's perfect snack for them.
Awesome. And that are the power swimmers, are those out and available yet, or are they coming soon?
Yeah, everything should start hitting the shelves. This is when everything starts coming in. Obviously, COVID and everything's messed this whole world up. So I can't tell you exactly where they're at or whatnot, but I think Tackle Warehouse, I think they were sold out already or something like that. But
Tackle Warehouse is getting hammered. Like I've ordered a few things from them, and it's not their fault. Like you said, it's the supply chain stuff and everything. But I've ordered quite a few lures from them, and it takes quite a while. I was used to when I got spoiled when I first heard about them, and you order and get stuff like right away, and now it's taking a little bit longer. But that's to be under. It's the world we live in, and we can survive. So
yeah, hopefully things come around soon.
I think hopefully we're starting to see the daylight at the end of that tunnel. But just stay hopeful, everyone, and we'll get through it. So, is there anybody you want to shout out? Any thank yous or any other sponsors or anything you want to, kind of?
Yeah, obviously, I wouldn't be where I am today without my amazing in-laws, Gareth and Elena. They have been side by side, standing behind me, pushing me to do my best. So that's the number one. Berkley, obviously, they made me home, and I hope to do them proud. I really do. They kind of took a gamble on me, and I'm trying my hardest. And of course, my amazing wife for letting me go fishing all the time. Sometimes I say I'm out field testing when I'm just fishing.
Sorry, I got to go to work, honey.
Don't tell her, she can't watch this now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, again, thank you for coming on. Definitely, if you
Anytime.
ever want to come on, if you have something new that you're excited about and want to give a shout out, we do have another segment that's called Final Cast, where they actually do product reviews and stuff. So I'm sure they would love to have you on if possible, because that's what they do. Brad and Josh, they're kind of podcasters of mine. Here on the Noobs show, we mostly do techniques and stuff. But when I heard your gig,
it's kind of weird that there's two Kyle Petersons. It's funny when you message me, I'm like, actually, I know who you're trying to get, but I guess just throw me under the bus.
No, I'm happy to hear your story. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. I think that would make a great story for everyone to hear. So it was another one of life's happy accidents, and I'm glad I kind of stumbled on you. But
if you ever need any help getting a hold of those wired to fish guys, I might know a few to tell them to get back at you.
Awesome, dude. I'm going to keep your name handy in my contacts for sure, because I think you have some pretty good connections, just some of the names you mentioned.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, thank you again so much. And guys, make sure you go check out all of Berkley's awesome stuff when you get a chance. Should be hitting the store shelves very soon. And again, I can't wait to see what you guys have coming up in the future. Yeah,
it's exciting. I'm super excited to get my stuff out there.
Awesome, dude. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment on the Paddle and Fin podcast, where we bring you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to help you rip more lips. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in Northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com